When you operate from a solutions-based mindset, your problems become paychecks. Stop running from the only thing that's going to make you wealthy. What up? Another episode of From the Bottom podcast. It's your host, Fitz. We got Ty.
Gang.
We got Aaron,
Triple
A.K.A Gray Hat, A.K.A Fitz 2, A.K.A Original Fitz. Yeah. If you have not liked the channel yet, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, share. We got like 7, 8 core fans. So make sure y'all are looking out. How y'all been?
Sensational.
Busy, man, working.
Life is good.
Okay, I'm hearing some positivity.
How about yourself? How have you been?
Oh wow, this is new.
This guy.
So I've been great. Honestly, I've been great. Just, going through the motions, dealing with real estate clients, and some group text messages, letting off steam. You know how it goes. On Clubhouse, just marketing, just trying to, put my life together in the best way I can.
Sounds like positivity all around.
Oh yeah. All
Maybe
day,
not-
every day.
Maybe not that clubhouse part.
Hey,
They
you gotta.
poo-poo.
They are, but the good thing is when
Poo-poo.
you build your mindset up to extract what you need and not everything you hear, Clubhouse is just another hood.
They poo-poo, bro.
They are, a lot of them rooms are trash, but we gotta get on Clubhouse and start a room too. All three of us are on Clubhouse now. Aaron on there. Ty, did you get his invite?
Cool.
I haven't
Aaron's?
looked at Clubhouse. Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
Nah, Aaron sent you an invite.
I see it.
With his we can't even speak. We can't even speak the name right now, but we'll get into that later.
He got friend zoned on Clubhouse.
He what?
You got Ty friend zoned you on Clubhouse. He saw it and he didn't reply.
See, I don't be on the clubhouse thing, man. They be tripping on that sometimes.
What are you, Instagram?
Yeah, I got Instagram. I got all that. Do you have social media?
I don't do none of that, man.
That's
I
what
ain't
I
done
figured. That's what I
nothing since
figured.
like Facebook.
That's what I figured.
I
There
got
was
too many other things to worry about.
There was one time
I feel it.
there was one time I posted a picture with me and Aaron fishing, and some lady, she messaged or she like comments on the picture. She's like, "Wait a minute, I think I know that man." And I'm like,
Dang.
and then Asia, your Aaron's sister, he comments, he's like, "What do you mean? That's my brother." And then she's like, "Did he work at Parkview?" And then she's like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "I know that man." And it's just like, I post one picture and everybody giving him more attention than I usually get.
Hey, he's
So
the man.
the people are waiting for their king to come back to the throne.
He was the man before you were even born.
All right, he be working them scrubs. She was
Nah,
all
man,
on
I just
there.
be working my mind, just like you. When you're working, I'm not there just to like hopefully stay in the same job for 10 years. I'm trying to figure out how to be like the guy who's telling me what to do. So always talking, always networking, always being professional. Everybody's my equal. Even if you're the top guy that runs the whole hospital, when I see you, I'm still gonna say, "Good morning, sir. How are you?" And we'll go from there. But it's just small, man. Pueblo ties, it's small. Like it's just a little country town with a lot of country stuff. So everybody knows everybody. Like if you live there and grew up, whether you did good or bad, people will, if you say something, somebody knows you. So
No, I agree with that because when I first moved there, when I was like 15, people didn't know me, but they knew our family. they heard Fitzpatrick and they're like, oh wait, who's your dad? It's so and so and so
Oh
and
boy,
so.
because I was up in the newspaper hitting them threes, putting up them numbers, boy.
Let me
Hey,
tell you about this man right here. When I first got to Pueblo, me and Fitz
You
became
ain't
friends.
never been to Pueblo.
Me and Fitz became friends, right? This
You
man,
lived in the dorms.
this man acted like it was NTV Cribs. He's like, let me show you the hood real quick. We gonna drive through. I don't know where. I
the
think we drove
East
through the east
Side.
side. We gonna drive
Yeah,
through the. We gonna
dog.
drive through the east side. We drove around
Don't be
Pueblo.
going through Belmont, boy.
This man Fitz was so happy to show that boy. He was so proud. I was like, what is this?
Pueblo's cool though, man. Like
No, I
if
like
you
it.
lived out there and
Straight,
you grew up,
real
it's a
straight.
hard place to like not be negative, and
He was the
there's not a
man.
lot of opportunities.
It,
So
He had
it's
all the
cool
he had all
until
the
you
girls and everything.
nah, it's cool until you become an adult and you go look for a job.
yeah,
It's
Yeah,
cool like
you could
growing
work
up
at
in
the mall, Walmart,
yeah.
Safeway, King Supers, or the steel mill. Those are your
yeah,
unless you got a
or the
business or you
hospital.
got some type of or the hospital, but unless you got a business or some type of technology company, like you basically those are your four options.
I
So
couldn't tell you
that
how many people we seen in noodles.
well
We
that
seen
brings up
everybody.
another point. Like we always talk about environment and you have I mean Ty had moved there specifically for college, but me and Aaron kind of grew up there and a lot of people there are still there and their kids will probably still be there and their kids will probably still be there. So what was it for you, Aaron, that you were able to see the bigger picture and be like, I got to get out of here? Because a lot of people weren't able to do that in that environment.
I mean, the biggest picture for me it was, I mean, first off, I didn't grow up hanging around the people that were in the hood. I had a few homies just because Spanish class was hard. They dropped out of high school freshman year. I got a few people who went to prison for doing dumb stuff, but I guess my knowledge base and my personality and my mindset and what kind of values I hold for myself came from just being able to play sports and having a release. So my release wasn't like, even though I did a few times, wasn't trying to like, oh, we're gonna fight after school. We used to say, hey, meet me at the loaf, and everybody would be at the loafing jug because it's across the street of the football field, and the security guards at school can't do nothing about it. So people are always fighting, doing drugs, drinking, or not trying to, like the topic of our week is, invest some time in themselves so they can better their opportunity. So I just kind of stuck to my own. I always been my own person. I have a lot of people that do a lot of stuff, but I never was one to follow them because maybe if I started following, maybe I wouldn't like where I was going or what I was trying to do because I'm more trying to be like that person instead of trying to be by myself.
No, that's real. And for everybody that doesn't know, following to Aaron does not mean on Instagram or Facebook. He actually means like in person. He don't do the social
Yeah,
media as we established. Um, but no, that
eventually when I have a reason to.
yeah, reason. And that's another thing. I see people on social media and they got like all these followers, all these people, but they don't have no business. They don't really have a reason to be on social media as much as they should be, which is a perfect segue into our topic this week, which is spending time versus investing time. And I think you just gave a great example of spending time. And I just want to get y'all's thoughts on when you hear the phrase spending time, what do you think about it? Like what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Like I spent some time doing something.
Investing in something. So like, um, spending time watching YouTube videos about something you like or something you want to do. That's what I think about. I mean, I think about the negative too. Like, I spent time on social media, but it was wasted time. So
Okay. And so I guess when I think of spending time, I think of it in opposition to investing time. So I don't really think of spending time. I look at them as different levels. Like I look at spending time as, just like leisure time where I'm not really looking to get anything out of something. I'm just passing by time, like chilling. But I look at investing time as being something that I do intentionally, where I specifically want an outcome, or, like I've set a goal and now I'm investing time. So an example is like I spend time playing video games, but if I was a professional gamer, then I would be investing time, spend like playing video games. Or, like the social media thing, I invest time in social media, but if I don't have no business or anything and I'm just on there to look cool, I'm spending time on social media. That's my perspective of, like the difference between spending time and investing time. One is intentional, and one you're just kind of like, I don't have no reasons to be doing this really. What do
Yeah,
y'all
I
think
mean,
about?
it's kind of the same thing. I mean, I spend a lot of time doing a lot of things. Um, I mean, one of the biggest things I spend time doing when it's the right time is fishing, but I also feel that it's more of an investment of time for me as well, because my benefit is a peace of mind, a reset. I get to think about all those things, kind of like meditating, so to speak, that you don't really think about when you're doing all the other stuff, kind of like playing the video games. You're thinking about the video game, you're not thinking about other things. Or if you're out there, kind of like another thing I do is climbing. I spend time doing that, but it's also kind of an investment for me because it helps me get some exercise, helps me release some of those thoughts, gets the blood pumping, and just makes me feel better when I'm done doing it. So a few things I invest in are the same things I spend the time in, but I feel like for me, it's always a benefit because it's making me feel better.
So I think you just touched on an important point, which is mindset again. Because yes, you're spending time doing those things, but because you have a certain mindset about doing them, it can be looked at as an investment instead of just like I'm wasting time, or like not even that reflecting part. Like if you go fishing and you spend time fishing, I think it can still be an investment, like you said, because you're investing in your well-being. You're investing in a peace of mind. You're investing in catching less fish than me. These are facts. These are
except for
facts.
except for on the river, boy. I'll be catching the big old fish,
All right, well, I'll give you
almost
that
as big
one.
as your head.
All right, I'll give you that one too. That's pretty big. That's pretty big. Um, but I really think this topic is important because, and we kind of hit on it early on, which is the mindset around how you're spending your time and investing it. And Ty was talking about, like he spends his time like watching YouTube videos that are informative and things like that. How is it that you choose what to invest your time in? Like, what does that look like for y'all?
I guess it's different for everybody. Basically what you like. I mean, if you aspire to be, let's just say a nurse or something. I mean, there's millions and millions of videos of a day in the life of a nurse. What to expect. Um, Almost kind of what it looks like in the ER. Sometimes people bring their cameras in there and they're allowed to. Um, but just kind of what you want to do in life or something that you want to learn, like um, doing like photoshopping. That's on YouTube. Learning how to work a camera. That's on YouTube. Learning about what type of camera. That's on YouTube. If you want to get a gun, learn about getting the guns on YouTube, bro. Like everything is on YouTube, and it's just like it's right at the palm of your hand. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be investing time watching what you want, but also watching new things to put yourself in a new environment, in a new um, something new that will challenge you.
Nah, I totally agree. And I think people don't usually look at time as an investment. Like when we hear investment in society today, we oftentimes think of like money and, like how can I invest some money? But what people don't realize is that like when you go to a job, you're investing time because somebody else made an investment into a business or whatever, and you're giving them a return on their investment. So they're investing in you. right? Like every time somebody pays you to do something, they're investing in you and you're supposed to bring them a return on their investment. So you're supposed to give them more than what they put into you. And so when we think about investing time versus spending time, investing time is I specifically want to put I want to put a certain amount of money, time, energy, whatever into something, and I want to get more out of it than what I put in. And so what are the things that you specifically do, like to put more, like to put time in and then get something more out of it? Like what does that look like?
That's for me, it's been kind of hard because I guess it really took me a long time to understand that I needed to start spending more time on myself, more investment in myself, because my first relationship, which was almost 10 plus years long, I was taking care of two kids. I was 20 something years old. And I thought that was the right thing at the time to invest that time into that situation and not worry about myself. So here I am years later, finally learning how to invest time in myself. And now the things that I'm thinking about and the stuff that I want to do, now that I don't really have a relationship or anything that I'm obligated to other than myself, I'm starting to think about going back to school, maybe not going back to school, maybe doing something else, maybe trying to make more money, maybe trying to do this and that. So this is the first time in a long time where I even had a mindset and a thought or an opinion that didn't rely on what other people were doing or what other kids were doing. So it's kind of difficult. Like we were talking about earlier, I'm kind of bored. Like even though I'm working, doing all this other stuff, like I'm kind of bored because now I'm used to like always being on the go, doing this, doing that, being here, being there. And now I'm not doing all that. And I'm like, what am I really going to do for myself? So it'll be interesting to see how the time less spent on other people, more invested in myself turns out. So we'll see.
So before we lose that thought, I want to dig in deeper. And you know, this is a sensitive subject, so be as transparent as you like. But I really think, you know, we can help somebody by looking at, like you were saying, that you invested time in these relationships early on. What were you like? What was the return on your investment that you were thinking that you would get?
I think for me, mainly the lack of family. We didn't have many family members in Pueblo. Also, the other side of my family was like not like the family we grew up around. So there was always like this, not hate, but just like this general disappreciation for whatever anybody on my mom's side of the family was doing. So I was investing time because I was with the kids and had more extension than just myself. Like of course I had my friends and other things, but like home is different than being out partying, going to the club, playing cards or whatever you're doing with the homies. So there was like an extension of myself, and I knew at least when I went home, whether it was work or whatever the case may be, there would be somebody to like talk to and express opinions or emotions or whatever was going on for the day versus, you know, while I was in high school, I didn't have much of that. Things happened with life. And I finished my last 2 years of high school running the streets, trying to not be a gangbanger and do all this dumb shit like the people I was hanging out with. So for me, until I got in that relationship from 17 to about 24, I was just always and not being with the homies. But if I wasn't doing the stuff I shouldn't be doing at the time, when I was at home, it was just me. So I know what it's like to just be like there and not have people around and kind of have to deal with your own self, your own mind, like your own attitude, your own situations, your own everything about life. Like there's no expression to the outside world. It's just like you trying to figure it out. So I think for me that allows me to handle some of the diversity and just some of the situations that I've been placed in with life. But then also, you know, if I invested more time in trying to stay out of those situations, we might be having a different conversation.
Yeah, and I think so. What I'm hearing from you is like you didn't have something in high school and growing up, which was like a sense of family, sort of like maybe a family structure that you may have wanted. And so when you were able to do for yourself, you invested time into trying to create this family structure, like create a home.
Right.
That's what it. So okay, so and I think that this is important too because a lot of people go straight for the money, but when you're thinking about how to get the money, how to keep the money, a home is important. And I know like a lot of people listening probably come from broken families and things like that. And I always tell people invest in yourself, like invest your time in yourself. And it can be hard when you come from a broken family and you come from people that are struggling because you want to invest so much in other people. But until you make that investment in yourself and start getting a return on yourself, then you're always going to be in debt with yourself. Like if you don't take the time to invest in yourself and you try to go make other investments, it's like, wait a minute, you haven't even started making, the gains or the returns on the investment you made in yourself yet. So, you know, one of the ways that I'm seeing this conversation go is how do we make the investment in ourselves so that we can start making a return so that we can invest time in other people.
You just got to be appreciative, man. Like, even though it's not all good, it's still not all bad. So
Mm.
if you use the negativity to overpower the situation that you're either accomplished or you were blessed with, kind of like you were saying, and you're always going to be in debt. Like if you're negative, if I was negative because of what I'm doing right now, I wouldn't be thinking about, well, I appreciate where I'm at, but now all of a sudden I want to try to do so many other things and be in a better spot. So if I was using the negativity, I'd be like, man, I'm just going to be stuck in this bum place with this bum couch and this bum situation and never even trying to think about what if, how come, or why. So if I'm just stuck on right now, I'm not going to think about what it took for me to get here, how to get better, and the steps I used to get to where I'm at to get to the next spot. So you just got to be positive, just be thankful, be blessed, be happy, be humble, appreciate. Money isn't happiness. There's a lot of things money take care of. I mean, if I didn't have to worry about eating and food and the bills, I'd probably be 100 times better in that situation, even if I'm still in the situation I am. But I still got to pay bills, still got to feed the dog, I still got to eat, still got to put gas in my car, still got to wash my body. So if I let that stress me out to the point where I'm never going to get ahead, I'll never start thinking about how I'm going to get ahead.
What about you, Ty? What you think?
Um, I would say the biggest thing that I learned is not to lose yourself in people. Like kind of like what Aaron touched on, I went through some similar relationships, trying to build a foundation so young and have that home to go home to.
Well, don't
While
skip
do
over that though. Go like because you just hit on something, and I
Ah!
think people missed it because you said don't lose yourself in other people. What do you,
Yeah.
like dive deeper into that? What do you mean by don't lose yourself in other
Um.
people?
So Fitz knows this specific person. I dated the girl for 4 years, or on and off for 4 years, and we had got engaged and all that type of stuff. And it kind of went downhill probably after like the first year and a half, and it turned into like something very toxic to the point where we both were kind of just tearing each other apart. And at that point in time, man, when you dedicate yourself to somebody like that at a young age, it's like once you lose it, you're like, what do I do? Like, who am I anymore? Like, you don't made plans about a future. You're trying to do all these things, met each other's families, like all that stuff, man. So it's like, don't get too caught up into somebody. It's okay to have a balance, but don't. If it were to end, just make sure you're good at the end. Like if it were to end the next day, just make sure you'll be okay. You'll be hurt, but it won't be to the point where you're like, I don't know who I am anymore, or I can't stay off this person. I'm stuck on her, or she's stuck on me, or we're going back and forth. Like honestly, we both should have just cut it off, but instead we just kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Um, and I think it was a shared balance for sure. We both did our dirt. We both, you know, did all the negative stuff. But I say all that to say, like, know when enough is enough. You know, if it comes down to choosing you or that person, you better choose yourself.
He ain't saving nobody. This ain't the Titanic. He
You
not letting
can't, bro.
nobody on the lifeboats.
And the thing about relationships, man, is like some people you just not meant to be with. That sometimes that's just how it works out. Like there's people that you're meant to be with, you know, for a season. There's people that you're meant to be with as for like friends. So I you know, I obviously have gotten over it. I ain't on it no more, you know, and I think that's what people have to do is do what they need to do in the moment, cry, cuss, scream, whatever, and then move on, man. Have your minute of reflection, have your minute of going crazy, and then just move on. What's meant for you will be for you, and what's not, it won't be. Straight
That
like that.
brings up a great point, because when we're thinking about, like what Ty said, with relationships, when you're an entrepreneur and you have a business, you are in a relationship with your business, right? And if you're doing dirt, your business is going to do dirt on you. If you're insecure, then your business is going to be insecure with you. It's going to be like, I'm not going to give you no clients. You don't even know how to keep me going. You know what I'm saying? And so you were talking about don't lose yourself to other people. If we look at that in the context of a business, though, a lot of people will get into business and they won't know who they are and what they want. And they'll lose themselves in this business because they went into it with so much confidence, but they didn't know what they wanted. And then it didn't work out for them and they lose themselves. So now they never try to run another business again. Or now, like some people get in relationships, it didn't work out. And then they don't want to get into a relationship again. But it's like, did you really know what you wanted out of that relationship in the beginning? Same thing with the business. Did you really know what you wanted out of that business in the beginning? And my question to y'all is, because, I know, as humans, we all go through relationships. We all, some don't work out. We start businesses, it doesn't work out. Do you know that you're losing yourself while you're losing yourself?
It takes time, man. Like if we're talking about young me, young Ty, younger Robert, even if you feel like you're all this and you know everything biologically and all that fancy dancy science stuff, you're still not mature. Your mindset isn't mature. Your mindset isn't in its adult form yet. You're not appreciating what you think about when you're not thinking about being a young person or hanging out or having fun or doing whatever you were doing when you're a young person, even when you're in college. Some of the people in college still don't have the right mindset, and some of them drop out, some of them get bad grades because some people's mind isn't ready for that. That type of mental stimulation and being able to process the information and place it in certain categories and deal with it appropriately in an adult mindset. Either some people aren't used to that, some people, maybe been baby their whole life, so they're not used to making decisions. But all that being said, until you start really developing that mind and that area of your brain where you start thinking about things you didn't think about when you were just a little kid running the streets, or when you were hanging out with mommy and daddy or playing basketball or whatever you were doing when you were little, you don't appreciate none of that stuff until you start thinking about, dang, if I would have, could have, should have, maybe it would have been different. Just like I said, maybe we would be having a different thought. But my mind was just into being stuck on what I thought I should be doing, not listening to some of the adults that were like, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you questioning me? I know what I'm doing. I'm a man, 22, 23 years old. I had no clue what I was doing. All I was doing was creating bills, spending money on things I shouldn't be spending money on. Again, not investing time in myself, investing time in other people's situation. And I was like, oh, well, let me try to step up and do what the other guy should have been doing, even though he's just as young, a little bit older than me, and not understanding that maybe these people were saying or speaking these opinions not because they're hating on me are jealous of me or think that I'm making a mistake. Maybe they're trying to help me understand some of the things, like I was saying, you don't think about until your mind has gone through that process and you've experienced a little bit of life. Now I'm like, man, I should have listened all the time. And then I wouldn't invested so much time, and kind of like Ty was saying, going back and still dealing with the same thing over and over, and it just being repetitive to where you start to lose yourself and not really understand who you truly are, what you want to be. So it's always been that battle. I've been doing things that I like to do. I've been working jobs that I want to try to invest my time and maybe have a career. And I've never not tried to invest my time, but when you look at like the market value, my time and investment was minimal versus the thousands of shares I bought, kind of like you were saying, into somebody else's life and situation. Hopefully that would put me even, and then I'd feel appreciated. But it wasn't that appreciation or that family or that tie or that connection that I was looking for through it all. I was trying to find out who I was going to be, and thought that some of these situations would help me figure out if this is how I wanted to be, instead of trying to figure out who I want to be, if that makes sense.
Now that makes perfect sense. And something you said that clicked. You said you bought shares like in other people's lives. And so not only does it seem like you bought shares in other people's lives, but you bought shares with money that you didn't have, right? Like,
And time I didn't have.
yeah, with money and time that you didn't have. And they always say like scared money, like I forget the saying, but something like along the effects of scared money, doesn't win. And the same thing applies to like relationships or business. If you're so scared going into a relationship or during it, it's probably not going to work out. If you're scared like in a business and you don't really know what you want, then it's probably not going to work out. And the question really centers around like, do you know you're losing yourself while you're losing yourself? Because when we're going through it, we're so emotional that we can't take a second to step back and be like, okay, that's a red flag. Or even though I know it's a red flag, it kind of looks like it's a blue flag or a white flag, so I'm not even going to take it as a red flag. And so what is it that that we can help somebody with that's listening to this right now and saying, you know what, I know I'm going through it right now, but I don't want to quit. I don't invest. Because here's the thing, people will say, I've invested too much in this to quit. But were you investing, or were you just spending time? Were you spending too much time in it? Or were you really investing in it? Did you have a clear outcome for this? Does it line up with what you really like? If you step back and think, if it was somebody else that was in this exact predicament, what would you think about that situation if it wasn't you?
That's tough, man. You're giving me some questions I need to reflect on, boy. Sheesh. Um, damn, man. To touch on the first question about losing yourself and knowing you're losing yourself, man, I don't even know. Like, when I was going through all that stuff, I don't. I mean, I was going through the emotional part of it, but I wasn't thinking about, are you still Tom? Are you still you? Like, what's this person? What kind of control does this person have over you? Because I mean, in reality, people have control over people sometimes with their emotions. I wasn't like how I am today back in the day, so I was still aware, but I wasn't as conscious, I guess you could say.
Well, let
Uh,
me ask you this. Did you know who you were before in order to be able to say that you were losing yourself?
mm, I would say,
Besides being tired at college trying to get an
uh,
education, did you know
yeah,
exactly who you were in the world?
yeah, I wouldn't say 100%. Like when I met her, I was probably like, I was getting there. I'd say probably about 50%, maybe between 50% and 75%. I had a plan. I knew what I wanted to do. Um, I knew who I was until the world hit me. Until I got into college and life punched me in the face. You feel me? Like I had to reinvent who I was and adjust and adapt here along the way. Um, so I think you don't really know. I mean, I think you have some idea like this is wrong. We shouldn't be doing this. Like this is bad for both of us. But how do you break that? How do you shake that? you invested so much time. How do you just give it up? You know what I mean? So I think people want to just keep putting time in to see if it works or not. So at that point, we were spending time. We weren't even like investing time. Because after, yeah, probably after the second or third year, um, it just became about spending time and playing around. At that point, it wasn't, we not investing, we not making no goals. Like other people were spending time in the picture. So, um, to reflect on it right now, I'd say spending time more than anything. After the second year, it was spending time, and it was time. I wouldn't say it was time wasted because I think everybody teaches you a lesson. Everybody comes in your life for a reason during certain seasons. So, I would say I made more good investments in my time with her than bad.
No, that's real. And I think one of the things that we have to think about when we're talking about investments is that you can have the best intentions when you first make an investment, but it's so hard to, while you're investing, because there's a thin line, because with investments, you don't want to quit too early because you don't know if it will pay off, and you don't want to quit too late because you don't know if you just wasted your time. So then you have to find a happy medium where it's like, okay, before I get into this, I need to know what my walk away is. Like Dave Chappelle said, his dad told him, like if it ever gets to a point, like set a rule at the beginning, and if it ever gets past that point, walk away. So I think when we're going into these investments, which a lot of time they do start out as investments, like you do have good intentions, you do want the best, you do have some sort of a plan, but somewhere along the line, there's no intermedium where like something interjects and you're like, okay, I'm done. Like this is where the line has to be drawn. And I think that a large part of that has to do with, we don't really know who we are when we get into these investments. We don't really know what we're talking about. We're kind of just going on a hunch, and we're figuring things out as we go, but we don't trust the new information that we get, because the new information that we get is putting us in a better place than when we started. And we don't want to be in a better place when we started during the investment, because then if we apply that information, it looks like we quit or we failed, right? And I keep talking about on my social media, fail, fail, fail. And a large part of investing is failing. But if we don't learn to fail, then we'll never be able to take advantage of the investment. And so one of the questions that popped into my mind as you guys were talking is, Warren Buffett says when he's making investments, he never lose money. So what is your never lose money mentality? Like, what does that look like? Like, what is the one thing where it's like, okay, I will never lose this. And if I start losing this, then it's time for me to back out and try something different.
Yeah, I think for me, that's just kind of where I can't say I was pushing you or Nikki or anybody else, because they're not my kids and not my responsibility. They're my family, and the family that I have and know I do appreciate and love. So my investment that I knew that myself and anybody coming after me, if kind of like you were saying, if they had enough mental capacity to accept new information, that allowed a lot of people to understand, hey, kind of like you, even in the beginning, you were like, man, if I go to school and I have a student loan and stuff, like I'm gonna have a debt. And I'm like, so does half the world. But that debt that you're gonna have, and is investment in your mind and your education and your power as a person. So even me, the education that I have, the only reason I'm able to have these jobs and still be doing some of the stuff I'm trying to do is because throughout all the other stuff I did, I always never lose the mentality or the mindset or the focus to understand, if I have some type of education or some type of skill set or some type of knowledge about some type of trade that people need, and people kind of like you were saying will invest some money in me to make their business better, at least I always had a medium. And my medium was my mind, my education, my knowledge, my capacity to accept new information, whether it was negative or beneficial. I'm still able to accept that new information and decipher it, take it apart, and absorb the pieces I need to absorb and let the rest go. Some people don't want to accept the new information, kind of like you were saying, so you can't do nothing for them. But if people just want to listen and absorb it and take a reflection moment and think about the information, that's the most powerful thing you can give yourself or anybody. The power to reflect and absorb and recognize the good knowledge versus the bad knowledge. Like, I don't want to know how to sell drugs. I mean, we could all probably figure that out from YouTube. But what if I take the time to figure out how to change a tire so when I'm broke down on the side of the road, I'm not going to be stranded or stuck or die because I'm stranded on the side of the road and I don't have the knowledge. I didn't absorb any information that's going to be beneficial to me in the long run. Invest more time on the YouTubes or the social medias trying to learn something that you're going to be able to apply to the real life, because when real life hits you, social media and the YouTubes and the Snapchats and the Instagrams, none of that's going to do nothing for you.
That's real. And you know, like we're talking about new information, and one thing that Aaron is hitting home on is the fact that, you know, when new information is presented to you, you have a choice, right? You have a choice, just like you had a choice in the beginning. And you know, one thing that I'm thinking about as we're having this conversation is like, new information is a key, but it's useless if you ignore the keyhole that the key goes to, right? Like, you can get all the information in the world, but if you ignore what that information is actually for, then it's useless and you're just overcrowding your brain, and you shouldn't have got the information to begin with. But here's the thing, like, nobody wants to realize that they have a broken ankle when they're in the middle of a race, right? It's much easier if you know before the race, because you can choose then to not have the race, and then you don't have to live with the outcome of the race. But when you figure out you have a broken ankle during the race, it's like, okay, I don't want to quit, but I know if I keep going, I'm going to mess my ankle up even more. So part of what we're talking about is like, when we get new information and when we're thinking about what we're investing our time in, you really have to have a certain level of maturity to be able to step back and say, for instance, I was wrong. Or like Ty was saying earlier in his relationship, like, we both did dirt. But during the time when it was happening, it's like, nah, it's her. It's her. It ain't me. You know, like, but there's a certain level of maturity that comes with time. And sometimes we don't need years to mature. Sometimes we just need to step back and have a system in place to be able to evaluate the investments that we're making. And so, do you guys, like, because I know obviously we've all grown from our past and things like that, is there a system that you use to be able to check yourself to say, okay, I thought this, but I see that it's not going this way. I'm going to, you know, reevaluate. Or things are going the way they should be going. How can I turn it up a notch?
Mm, I say I got a routine, man. I definitely like to reflect and reevaluate everything, just to kind of see where I can make tweaks at. Um, Usually it's around a big decision. I'm definitely thinking like, okay, this is what's gonna happen. This is what I envision. How are we gonna make this happen? How's it going right now? Where can I make little uh scribbles? You know, what can I take away? Um, because in my mind, when you said that Warren Buffett comment, I think about doing it correctly and not fast. So I think a lot of people want it, what they want, instant gratification of everything. I mean, anything you could think of. They want to just skip the whole grind and just get straight to the success, the money, the fame, whatever. And for me, I'm worried about doing it correctly. Like, since we're all going, you know, since I'm in school, Aaron's going back to school. I think I can say this now is that I think a lot of people, I think school can be good, all right, but I think it's an obstacle that many people don't want to jump over. So all three of us, you know, I think it looks good when we say we have our degrees and these things. I think it looks good for one reason. It's because we push through that obstacle rather than going around it like most people have. Because I got respect for people who don't go to school and do real estate or whatever. They're successful, but it's like, why couldn't you just go straight to the obstacle to get to that end? You wanted the instant gratification, which some people just don't go to school. It's cool, but we have that endurance and that realism to us because we, instead of us just going around, we push through it. We finish. Now
At,
we have our ideas now about it, but we still push through the obstacle. And I think we did it correctly. Um, just coming where we come from instead of trying to go the fast route.
and okay, go ahead, Aaron.
Huh?
I was gonna say, I think with the fast route, I think people see like, because I wanted, at one time I was in college and I was just like, I actually did drop out and I was like, I'm just gonna go make money. Like I'm gonna go make money because I was thinking about, oh, I want to get an apartment. I don't want to be living here with like 14 people. I want to get a car. I want to get, so when Ty talks about the fast route, he's more so talking about like, you're in a situation where you're not going to inherit a business. You're in a situation where, like you don't have any skill set that you can monetize right away that's going to bring you along. Like this is your career. Like it's so easy to go apply for a job and get one, but like people know when they're applying for a job, like, okay, this isn't what I want to do the rest of my life. But they get stuck there because there's no plan that goes along with having the job. The job then becomes like okay, I'm going to settle for this instead of doing the thing that I want to do. And, like 1,000 times over, if I would have had the type of business knowledge that I have now, I probably wouldn't have went to college until I could pay for it out of pocket. Um, and so when I think about it from that perspective, yes, it's still an investment, but I feel like I could have made a smarter investment with the knowledge that I have now, instead of like, at the end of the day, it's an investment, but I feel like I'm losing money compared to if I would have made it in a different way. But what I really want to touch on is like, you were talking about routines, Ty, and Aaron was talking about like appreciation, like being positive and things like that. And I want to tie those two things together, because when you get into a routine of being positive, positive things start happening. So Aaron, do you have a positive routine? Like, do you have something that is like, okay, I don't even have to think about being positive. I'm just going to automatically make this a positive situation.
For me, that's always a struggle. I've I know a lot of negativity. I know how to shuffle negativity and not let it bother me as much as it should. But honestly, man, I've never really. I used to think a lot of things made me happy. I used to think being the DJ at the little broke down clubs in Pueblo, getting some free drinks and doing that stuff was helping me be positive. But it's taken me, and even still now, I'm learning how to just have that positive mindset, that appreciation. Some of these things that I'm talking about, some of these things, even though I'm talking about them, are still even brand new for me. And I'll struggle with them every day. I don't know whether it's because, like you were touching on with the school, I didn't have a lot of positivity, no encouragement, no direction. So a lot of my investment in debt and the education is using that money just to try to survive on. And for me, that was a negative situation that I was trying to make positive. But maybe kind of like you were saying, if I would have just figured out how to get to this stupid subway job in Pueblo and make a little bit more money, I wouldn't be relying on all this debt that I have now, that I'm thinking, and I'm an adult and I'm realizing I could have tried something different. But at the time I was just a young punk. My time wasn't better placed on making those type of decisions. It was chased on the girls running around in the shorts and doing the club thing and having people like you and having the friends that you have and trying to be the standout and like, hey, actually I'm a little bit more rugged than you. I'm a little bit more handsome than you. I'm a little bit more knowledgeable in like the music craft than you. So instead of just always trying to make the situations negative and trying to compare, I realized that if I start focusing on myself, the situations that I'm in and the things that I'm doing and the people I'm around, kind of like you were saying, are going to be more in the positive. So maybe I just never try to place myself in the positivity section and just always thought that the negativity is what I have to deal with because that's what I know, that's who I am. But now I'm starting to realize that's not. So it's a big change. It's almost like a teenager who's going through puberty and they're insecure and they don't know what's going on. Like I feel like it's hard for me to be in those situations around those people who are always laughing, always happy, and always see the best things in life when I'm worried about am I going to be able to get something to eat later or keep my internet going or the electricity or feed the dog. So I guess it's just that power of positivity, man. Even though I'm going through those things, a lot of the people who I'm around now and are working with, they're just these just happy, positive people. So sometimes you can't help just be like, maybe I should just be happy and thankful and feel blessed. It's an opportunity. It could be worse. I could still be in Pueblo working at Subway, not doing nothing, no car, no dog, no bills, no debt, nothing. Just a guy who works at Subway. But at least I've been doing things. I've been trying to overcome obstacles, like Ty was saying, and I'm trying to establish myself the best way. And the biggest thing for me is trying to figure out that routine and that placement where I don't have to wake up and be like, what do I need to do today to be happy? I'm just going to get up and do it and be happy with whatever I'm doing. So that's my challenge right now.
And that's real because I think a lot of the routines that we have, we don't even realize that we were making them routines. And so for whatever reason, you're in a position now so to where you're like, you're waking up and you're focused on being happy and things like that. What I do want to say is that I think we can all agree if we go into it with intention and a plan, and the key word for today I want people to focus on is a strategy, we can get so much more out of it because you don't even have a strategy right now and you killing it. Like you don't even have you don't have a routine, really. You don't have a strategy. Imagine if you took everything if you sat down and took everything you knew about being positive, happy, read up on it or whatever, came up with a strategy and then made a routine around that strategy. That's what takes people to the next level is that strategy. And anyone can make a strategy. It's just most people don't stick to the strategy. And I mean, this is a book that I've had for like the past few years. It's on positive psychology. It has like right here, self-help strategies. Like it's not just people making stuff. This is based on research, psychological research, and they've come up with practical strategies to help you in your journey for happiness. And one of the things that they talk about is this thing that I was reading about yesterday is savoring. And savoring is just extracting the positive experience out of something. So like we're doing the podcast. So we can savor this moment and be like, what is it that is positive about this experience and really focus in on it. And I feel like a lot of people are not focused in enough to be able to stick with the investments they're making. And there's a term called passive investment. It's where you make the investment and then you don't have to do anything else and it's just bringing you return. People want a passive investment at first, but they don't want to put the hard work in to investing to get it to the point to where it's passively bringing you in enough to where you can sustain it. You know what I mean? So when we're thinking about investments and how to invest time, we really need to be thinking about how do I work so hard to get this to the point to where I don't have to keep doing this. It just maintains itself. And a lot of what I heard from you two today was like Ty was talking about making tweaks. Aaron was talking about like being appreciative and, just focusing on being happy and just getting up and doing the things that, you think will make you happy. And for me, what I try to do is I try to say, okay, I used to eat oatmeal all the time with like sugar and stuff in it. And then I was like reading like this simple sugars aren't good for you. So I'm going to start eating it without sugar. Like I don't put any sweeteners in my oatmeal now. And it's like, if I get in the habit of doing that, then one day this oatmeal is not going to taste as nasty. And now I can just eat a bowl of oatmeal plain with nothing. But I had to invest in that. I had to make a plan for that and say, I'll just eat this every single day. And now I don't need anything in that oatmeal, but I'm getting all the benefits from it. So passively, I don't have to keep doing anything to get those benefits. I don't have to keep thinking about how nasty it is because I've already created the habit that's going to allow me to eat this and gain the health benefits and not have to eat, like simple sugars every day that are just tearing my body apart. And so when we're thinking about these investments, what is it that you guys do like moving forward that you guys think that, okay, I want to invest more time in myself, but I don't really know what to invest my time in doing? Like, what does that look like for you? Because I know we're all trying to get somewhere in life, but there's somebody watching that's just like, well, I have time, but like Aaron was saying, I'm bored. I don't know how to apply that time. I think, Aaron, you're in the perfect position now to where it's like, you can be that example. Like you, every week you get on, it's like, I'm bored, but I started doing this. I started hang gliding. They got me into hang gliding up here.
This guy.
I started
Snowboarding.
I started doing ice road truckers. Like what are you going to do at your time now to capitalize on this opportunity? Because you have an opportunity right now. And people watching, they're going to be like, Aaron, he had the black shirt on and the gray hat and he was bored. But in a year from now, he invested his time and we can see how that investment's paying off. How are you going to use this opportunity? Not to put you on the spot.
Just invested in me, man. We've already been talking. Like when I started talking about things, it's because I'm passionate about it. We've been, even before you got your license and graduated and had the master's degree, like we were talking this, that, and the third about real estate and finding things to like help us to get that passive opportunity, whether it was the money or the life or the obligations or your mindset. Like we've always been thinking down that road, but I've always, I guess, not had an excuse, but I've always had a reason to be like, I guess I'll have to wait because of the relationship or the situation. And now I'm bored, man. I'm done waiting. Like I just got to do something. And if I don't want to be here and there's nothing for me to do here, but besides work, that's why I'm bored. So I'm about to make some changes, do some different things, apply myself in a lot of different directions, and maybe eventually, I mean, I'm not bored because I used to think I'm bored or not in a relationship and I need somebody to fill my time. Now I understand that I'm just bored because my mind is saying, hey, you can apply yourself in so many areas that you're not trying to do. So you're bored because you're trying to fill your time with things that you shouldn't be doing all the time, whether it's partying, hanging out, doing things that are beneficial to me, whatever it was that I'm doing. I'm just trying to fill these voids with black holes, so to speak, and it's still a void and it's sucking up all my time and all my energy. And now that I'm not putting these black holes in front of these voids and I'm trying to figure out how to make these voids an opportunity to be blessed or be happy or be more positive of whatever it is that I'm doing. Now I don't have these forever voids that are just sucking up my time and energy. I'm gonna fill this void with work right now and trying to be more educated and more knowledgeable about my job. And then this other void we were kind of talking about, like I guess now it's time to stop talking about it like we've been doing for so many years and trying to figure out how I can apply myself and maybe make some money or maybe establish a business and remodeling houses and doing other things with you and stuff that we've been talking about. But I always was holding off because I'm like, you know what? Well, I can't do it because I got to stay in Colorado because I'm in a relationship. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I'm not obligated to be here. I just felt like my time was best invested in being here. And now that I'm realizing all the time invested isn't even beneficial in the long run for anything, much less myself, why am I here? Now I'm bored. Now I don't want to do that no more. Now I want to figure out how to do stuff I want to do, like maybe buy a boat. But if I keep on filling those voids with those black holes, I'm never going to figure out how to ever try to get a boat or ever how to try to get out of debt because I'll always have an excuse because that black hole is just sucking up my time, my energy, my spirit. And that's where the negativity comes from. So now that I'm realizing these voids don't have to be black holes, but an opportunity to fill them with positivity or opportunity or knowledge, now I'm like, let's get more of that because what I'm doing and what I've been doing is boring.
He drops some gems, and I hope y'all didn't miss that. He said he's been putting, and here's the thing, he didn't say someone else was putting a black hole where, you know, like where this void is. He said, I've been putting these black holes where the void is, and so many of y'all are not taking responsibility for what you put in place. He said, I've been putting black holes there. And what do we know about black holes? That light cannot even escape a black hole, right? So
They suck you in.
yes, light can't even escape a black hole. So when you have a black hole there, everything positive that you're trying to let out, it can't come out because the black hole is just sucking everything in. And so with that being said, that void that's there, you have to replace it with something different. And you know, you have to replace it with something sustainable, something that is going to let out your light instead of sucking it all in. And I think Aaron's in a place right now to where it's like, okay, there was a void here. I can go into Photoshop, take that void out. Y'all ain't even got to know it was there unless I tell you. And now I'm putting a Mercedes right there. I'm putting a new sun right there. This is the brightest sun in the solar system. You know, like scientists can't even describe this. What's going on? They're gonna make a Discovery Channel documentary about this. And so, what, like, if you could give somebody, and I want both of y'all to touch on this, like just some practical, like real one-on-one, is just me and you in the room. Like, this is my best gym. Like, this is, if you apply this to your life, I can almost guarantee you it's gonna make some changes. What can you tell somebody about investing their time that is like, okay, this is gonna change their life?
Ooh, I got some good things I learned this week actually. So that podcast I be watching, Fred Taylor and Brandon Marshall. Fred Taylor said routine equals commitment. So having a routine automatically is gonna make you committed to whatever it is you're doing. And then Brandon said championship routine. So basically, what he touched on was that no matter if he didn't feel like it, no matter if he was tired, sore, whatever, he still got up and did it. He still was in the routine. He didn't break routine. Even if he didn't do nothing at the gym. Let's say he was tired, he didn't want to go to the gym. Him getting out of bed, going to the gym, that's a win. Because he's still there. He's still keeping the routine, even though he maybe didn't do anything. Maybe stretched, rode the bike, something like that. Um, so having the routine is going to keep you committed to the goal no matter where no matter what, if it's fast, slow progress is better than no progress, you feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And then my last one is something that I've been learning is to find joy and let the happiness find you. If you have the joy, happiness will find you. Don't be so caught up in trying to be happy and look good for social media and look good for everybody else. Find joy. Be joyful about everything, man. Like the good and the bad. I think what people do is they praise everything in the moments that are good. A lot of people say, thank God, they signed this $50 million contract. Like, oh yeah, God, thank God, God. And then when they get hurt, they break their leg. It ain't no more thank God. It ain't no more I thank my parents. It ain't no more I'm thankful for this and this. It's, oh, I'm hurt. Why does that have to happen to me? And I think in those times of negativity or those bad times, you got to be grateful because it's building you up for something bigger.
No, I
Gang.
totally agree. Totally agree. Somebody's gonna use that. What about you,
Yeah.
Aaron?
I mean, I like it's all about life, what we've been talking about. Obstacles. There's always an obstacle. School's an obstacle. Work, getting up for work's an obstacle. If you're making $50 million playing ball, that's an obstacle. Even if you're doing $50 million and like LeBron James making all the money in the world, if you're not placing that opportunity and using it to be positive and impact people around you, not financially, not any other way, but just using your platform and your ability that you have to better other people. That's why he continues to be blessed with the things that he's blessed with. If you're not being appreciative and understanding that you're given this for a reason, maybe it's just because you're so good at doing what you do. But even people that are so good at doing what they do, they have a moment in time where they have to sit back and reflect. Like, can I really start doing this at the level that I've always been doing it? Maybe it's not because they're doing negative stuff. Maybe they're getting older, but even still, well, the perfect example that just pops in my head, because Ty was talking about the big paydays. You know, Mike Vick was one of the greatest quarterbacks that are ever supposed to be around, but he didn't use that blessing and that opportunity to be positive. He's still doing stuff that he shouldn't be doing even before he made the money, and it caught up with him. Now he's no longer blessed with that opportunity to have that platform and that success and that networking base to where, hey, maybe I'm making a lot of money, maybe I'm blessed, maybe I'm just great, but I'm also appreciative because I can help other people out in my life. So, you know, just take all the other people. If the Patrick Mahomes, if he wasn't humble and grateful and realizing that he has an opportunity to be something that people will remember, he wouldn't be the person he is right now. He'll be like all these other young athletes who got blessed with an opportunity, but their mind wasn't ready for it. And they didn't have the knowledge base and the capacity to accept new information. They always fail. So just be happy, be blessed, be appreciative, accept where you're at, understand what you can do for people where you're at, not financially. You're not obligated to lift anybody up and have them come live in your house and eat your food. But if you can bless somebody with the power of knowledge so that they can accept new information and realize if they just looked around the corner and stopped looking what's in front of them, maybe that next corner will have an opportunity that will make the next road a better journey. So just be blessed, be happy, be appreciative. If you're a dad, if you're a mom, if you're a single dad, a single mom, be blessed with the opportunity, because if you go into work because you know, I have to take care of my kids and I'm a single dad and this sucks, you're never going to appreciate the family, and the family is never going to appreciate you. So if you give up and bail out, whether it's the education, the jobs, the money, the investing, the relationships, whatever it is, if you're not investing 100% and you're not happy, you're always going to get a negative return. There's going to be no investment or no return on your investment. So the return on our investment, basic people doing basic stuff, is appreciate that even though life sets these obstacles and these detours, maybe there's a reason. Maybe you're not appreciating where you are right now. So either you're going to start appreciating it and you can continue down a better road, or some way, somehow, something's going to get caught up with you, and that black hole is going to suck you in because you're not far enough away from it to stay away from it. If you want to hang out, let's hang out and see what happens when it sucks you in and the job's gone and the friends are gone and worrying to have to pay about bills is gone and nobody even really cares that you exist. Be appreciative of who you got, what you got, and how you got it. And you'll have more. And maybe you'll be able to lift the people and the things that you have up to a better platform. But you just got to be humble and you got to appreciate yourself first.
Hey, let's talk about Patrick Mahomes real quick. Hold on before you talk, Fitz.
Look at them.
Bro, this is what I mean by championship routine, bro. My man's, I don't know what his contract was, but it was like 5 years. He got over $100 million. But there was a thing that I recently saw on social media. Because you know they're in the playoffs and everything, and they're predicted to win the championship or whatever. And there was a thing that said Patrick Mahomes already had a notebook of the teams that he was facing, of all their weaknesses from last year when they faced them in like the regular season and they got beat. He said he already has a notebook of everything. And that's the type of mindset you gotta have, man. That got me fired up, boy. I was like, look at that boy out there, boy. That's a championship routine, man. He trying to get another ring, trying to just stunt on people, man, and get to the bag, bro. But he is humble. He is humble. I just want to touch on that though.
No, that's real. And I think that gets me into my gym that I want to drop is like, take yourself seriously. You know, like take yourself seriously. And the problem why, you know, like, and I also want to say that Aaron's new book is coming out later this year. It's called Be Blessed, Replacing Black Holes. We got that for the 2021. Right, Be Blessed, Replacing Black Holes. I'll do the intro for the book, but he gonna drop some knowledge on you guys, let you have it. But the gem I want to drop is like take yourself seriously. And it's so simple, but enough people don't do it. And, you know, the reason why other people don't take you seriously is not because you don't have money. It's not because you don't have a big business that's succeeding already. It's because you don't take yourself seriously. Who wants to work with somebody or take advice from somebody or listen to somebody that, you know, they know is not investing in themselves? You know, like when people pay me in real estate, they're not paying me because I'm just some random dude. They're paying me because I've invested time in learning this information, and they believe that my investment is going to pay off for them. So people have to take you seriously in order to believe that investing time in you is going to pay off for them. It's not about you, it's about them. Everything you're doing involves somebody else at some point. And if people don't take you seriously, it's because you're not taking yourself seriously. And the people that don't take you seriously, you have to know that, okay, I'm taking myself seriously enough, so they're not taking me seriously. Let me go out there and prove them wrong. And enough, like a lot of people don't have that prove them wrong mentality. And I'm not saying you should do things just to prove something to someone else. What I'm saying is that you've spent so much time trying to prove something to somebody else that you never invested time in yourself. And now people don't take you seriously because you're trying to prove something just to prove it, instead of I've invested too much into myself and I need to prove this because I need to prove this to myself. It's like I I really believe that if people start taking themselves more seriously, they would invest more time in themselves instead of investing time in other people, investing times in relationships that, you know, they know aren't going anywhere. It's like at some point, if you invested enough time in yourself, then you know, like, okay, this is a wall, and this is in total opposition of what I'm with. You know, like I started waking up at 5 a.m. I've been doing it for like the last week or so. I wake up at 5 a.m. and get all my work done by like 9 a.m. And I did that because I realized when I was waking up, like 8, 9, 10, I wasn't getting everything that I needed to do done because stuff would happen, people would call. But between 5 and 9, nobody really calls me. Nobody's even really up yet. And if they are, they're just getting ready for the day. So I get all my work done now before most people are up and have gotten their day started. And so I'm investing in myself because I know in the future that's what's going to set me apart. Nobody cares about me now. Nobody's looking at me now. Nobody sees me as competition. But I know when I get to that point to where it's like, okay, things are starting to happen, I know that most people aren't getting up at 5 a.m. and getting all their work done. I know that most people haven't been doing it for years. I know that most people are going to find a reason to complain. And so I just really want to tell people, take yourself seriously or nobody's going to take you seriously. And
From the bottom.
yeah, and I mean that's pretty much all I got to say. I think we touched on a lot, um, and I think people are going to get some use out of this. If you have not subscribed, make sure you go and subscribe, like the video, share it. We got more to come. Do y'all got any last words? Anything you got to get off your chest?
We could just beat this subject to death today, just like usual. I'm pretty much, I ain't got nothing else to say.
I think the jury's gonna convict us on this one.
Take accountability.
Hey, so that's from the bottom. We got we got more merch dropping, so make sure you check that out. Keep supporting us. We appreciate it. Also, y'all thought I wasn't gonna bring this up, but for all those people that made those New Year's resolutions, I'm being petty right now, but hey, I ain't even gotta say nothing. You know what it is.
They already gave up. It's the end of the month. They already gave up.
Hey,
I got next year. I got next year's my year. Next year's my year.
right? Next year. But appreciate y'all watching From the Bottom podcast. Let's go.
From the bottom. Gang.
From the bottom. This is Aaron.
Chill out, what?